Hey, how's it going? This is a video about armor in Destiny 2. If you haven't seen the last video and don't understand the basics of armor, masterworking, and equipping mods, definitely go take a peek at that. It has a ton of information for new and returning players to help build your characters and match your playstyle or objective that you're playing. Link in the description. But hey, if you're still here, or now you know the basics of armor and mods from the last video, you heard me briefly talk about combat style mods. These include 3 types of mods as of the season of the Splicer: Charged with Light, Warmind Cell, and Elemental Well. Today, we will be talking about Charged with Light mods only. For starters, Charged with Light is a very simple premise. You do a thing that charges you, and make that charge do another thing. What makes it more complicated is that you will have to think about what kinds of things you want to do for charges, how many charges you want to be able to hold, and what exactly you want those charges to do. Therefore, I'm going to run you through the mods that charge you first, and then we can talk about the different effects those charges can have later. First up, we have Taking Charge. Picking up Orbs of Power charge you. Next, we have Shield Break charge. Breaking an enemy shield with the matching element on the weapon charges you. Empowered Finish. Gain a charge of light by finishing an enemy using 1/10 of your super energy. Quick Charge. Getting rapid defeats with shotguns and fusion rifles has a chance to give you a charge. Swift Charge. Rapid defeats with pulse rifles, SMGs, or sidearms gives you a charge. Sustain Charge. Rapid, LMG, auto, or trace rifle defeats gives you a charge. Blast Radius. Rapidly defeating enemies with grenade launchers or rocket launchers gives you a charge. Precisely Charged. Rapidly defeating enemies with the sniper or a linear fusion rifle gives you a charge. Precision Charge. Rapid hand cannon, scout, or bow defeats gives you a charge. And then Charge Harvester. While not charged, kills or assists have a cumulative chance of charging you. Some mods charge you or your teammates in unconventional methods. Powerful Friends. When you yourself become charged, nearby allies also get charged. This effect bounces off your friendlies using this mod. And Radiant Light. You charge your nearby teammates by using your super. So now we've got the mods that can charge you. Let's talk about the mods that can give you more charges to hold. At base, you can carry 2 charges of light, but with certain mods you can increase that base up to a maximum of 5. Stacks on Stacks adds 1 extra charge every time you do a thing that charges you. Charged Up increases your charge cap of 2 by 1, so you go from 2 to 3. And Supercharged increases your charge cap of 2 by 2, so you go from 2 to 4. So combining Charged Up and Supercharged gives you a total of 5 stacks. It's good to know that some of these mods come with inherent drawbacks, such as stat penalties, as trade-off for their powerful benefits. Some of these mods, especially in the art category, can pair together and give extra buffs alongside their main buffs. Now, let's break down the things you can do with light charges, measuring their effects based on the number of stacks you have. First up, we have High Energy Fire. While charged with light, your weapons do bonus damage until you get a kill, which consumes 1 stack. This damage buff is a flat 20% increase as seen by me killing this drag for 3,565, then while charged, doing 4,278 damage. It also stacks with other damage boosters such as Kill Clip. With charge only, my Shayura's Wrath does 1440 per shot. With the Kill Clip and the charge, it does 1990. This is carried with you until you get a kill or die and lose your charges. In Crucible, that 20% damage boost is incredibly effective for 120 hand cannons as it allows them to 2-tap to the head, and high impact snipers can body shot resiliences up to 6 with that 20% damage booster. In general, it's good for shredding other guardians with anything you're using. Next up, we have Protective Light. This mod provides damage resistance to your health when your shields break. The more stacks you have when your shields break, the longer that resistance lasts. It also incurs a stat penalty of -10 strength. At 1 stack, this resistance lasts 6 seconds. At 5 stacks, it's maxed up to 20 seconds of resistance. The resistance is a 50% reduction in damage taken. This resistance does stack with other resistance multiplicatively. For example, Warmind's Protection, discussed later, is normally a 50% reduction, but paired with Protective Light, you receive a total of 75% resistance. A very useful mod for high-level activities such as Grandmaster Nightfall, challenge raids, and dungeons. Next up, we have Extra Reserves. Killing combatants with void damage while charged has a chance to draw special ammo. Keep note that this ammo is less rewarding than regular special breaks, while incurring a stat penalty of -10 intellect. For most weapons, the ammo economy is pretty good. I find this mod to be fairly useless and does more harm to your stats than good to your build. Next we have Surprise Attack. While incurring a stat penalty of -10 intellect, being charged with light gives you 5 damage boosted bullets per stack upon switching to a sidearm, and thus consumes all available stacks. Damage at no stacks is 2,984. Damage boost at 1 stack was 4,028. There's a 35% increase and 5 bullets in the chamber. Damage boost at 5 stacks is still the same 35%, but gives you 25 boosted bullets rather than the 5. This mod is moderately useful. If you really like sidearms for whatever reason, this is your mod. This can also work wonders for the Unstoppable Champ mod this season if timed correctly. Keep in mind, switching weapons immediately removes any remaining empowered shots in your sidearm while your sidearm was out. Alright, we got a long one coming up. Energy Converter. This mod gives you super energy after throwing a grenade. Based off the number of stacks, the amount of energy you get increases. This mod only gives you super energy during the first half of your bar. Any grenades thrown after the 50% mark does not consume energy or consume any stacks. Here's how much energy you get for 1 stack, roughly 5%, and here's how much energy you get for 5 stacks, which is roughly 40%. This mod is extremely powerful for chaining supers and pairs extremely well with exotics or abilities that refund super energy. This includes, but is not limited to, Phoenix Protocol with Well of Radiance, Orpheus Riggs and Shadow Shot, Ursa Furiosa and Banner Shield, and Bad Juju for any class. Weapons or abilities that refund you grenade energy, such as the perks Demolitionist or Wellspring, Young Ahamkara's Spine, Shinobu's Vow, Starfire Protocol, Nezarec Sin, and Hellfire Heart or Phoenix Cradles are some that might combo with this mod very well. Next is Heal Thyself. This mod gives you a small amount of health back on final blows with grenades, consuming 1 stack of charge at a time. Here's about how much health you get back. It's roughly 30%. This mod seems okay. I've never used it outside of this video, therefore I personally find very little use of it, especially considering how little it heals for, and it uses 4 energy for your armor. Right, next we have Firepower. This mod refunds a chunk of grenade energy after using the grenade, and only consumes 1 stack of charge. The amount of grenade energy refunded, it's roughly 10%. This mod is extremely weak in my opinion. For 4 energy you barely gain any grenade bag. Something they could do to spice it up is to change it so it refunds grenade energy based on the number of stacks you have, much like the Energy Converter mod. So let's say you have 5 stacks and you throw a grenade and that refunds you 50% instead of 1 stack continually refunding 10%. Next we have Argent Ordnance. While charged, switching to a rocket gives you a damage buff. When damaging an opponent with the damage buff, you consume 1 stack. The damage buff is roughly 20%, and one caveat to this mod is using the new perk Lasting Impression can improve this mod's effectiveness depending on how well you manage your stacks. Lasting Impression has a weird interaction where if the rocket makes impact, the damage is boosted with that 1 stack, and then boosted again on the explosion, consuming 2 stacks. Be aware if you decide to use this mod. I'm neutral on this mod. It unfortunately does not stack with damage boosters like Weapons of Light or Well, but it can pair with debuffs like Breach and Clear and Divinity, which can be really effective in solo or duo player content. For 5 energy though, it comes at a cost, but also keep in mind the artifact has a selection this season that reduces the cost of Argent Ordnance from 5 to 1. Next up is Kindling the Flame. While charged with light, reviving a teammate gives you a healing burst and consumes a single stack. This is an okay mod, but very situational, which is why it only costs 2 energy. I've never found a use for it personally, but just know it exists. Next up is Striking Light. Defeating enemies with swords generates orbs while consuming 1 stack. Bonus effect, you gain a 50% damage resistance while sprinting. This mod isn't terrible, because these orbs, paired with powerful friends Radiant Light and Taking Charge, can generate huge amounts of charges for you and your team. It just depends on who you want to take on the burden of going and getting sword kills. Next up we have Heavy Handed. Using a charged melee restores half of that melee ability and consumes 1 stack. Bonus effect, being surrounded by 3 or more enemies, and killing those enemies refunds ammo for SMGs, shotguns, sidearms, and fusion rifles. This mod isn't half bad. It gives ammo for free without even having to be charged, and is pretty good in a sticky situation. The charged melee thing isn't bad at all either. Some melee builds could benefit heavily from this, like Claws of Ahamkara, Doomfang Pauldron, or Arthur's Embrace Throwing Knives. It's a very cool mod, but it costs 7 energy and is very build specific, so it's up to you on this one. Alright, second to last, we have Lucent Blade. While charged with light, you gain a bonus to sword damage for 5 seconds after hitting something. A bonus effect is Sword Guard recharge rate is greatly increased, and that's the icon that replaces your melee. So this is good for Lament, Falling Guillotine and Eternity's Edge, Temptation's Hook and Soulless Scar, Black Talon, etc. Bonus damage alone, without any buffs, is 25%. This bonus damage does stack with Assassin's Blade and Lucent Blade and other damage boosting perks on weapons. This mod is pretty damn good. Very useful on boss damage where swords are possible, like Atrax, Morgoth, and Ribbon, and is most definitely worth the 4 armor energy and with its bonus effects. And lastly, we have Reactive Pulse. While charged, and there are enemies nearby, you emit a pulse of arc energy after taking damage, and that staggers enemies. Your bonus is that you gain an overshield when finishing enemies. This mod isn't bad, but I only use it when I happen to have extra room in a build, nothing else to fit it in, and overshield helps with finishers, especially in the high level activities. With that, we conclude the demonstration of Charged with Light mods. The next video will be covering the usefulness and utility of Warmind cells and their mods. If you learned something new, found any of this interesting, or enjoyed the video in any way, feel free to drop a like, check out links in the description. Later.